What's up, you guys? It's Nick here, and I just got back from Playa del Carmen, and it was beautiful. I got back just in time for the snowmageddon that hit Texas. We literally went from 85 degrees in Playa del Carmen to -5 degrees in the Dallas area, almost overnight. It was crazy. But we had a great time on our vacation. We stayed at this beautiful all-inclusive, 4 nights, 5 days. There were 7 restaurants on the property. There was a coffee shop on the property, 4 different bars, a couple pools. It was beautiful. We even had a jacuzzi in our room that you could see the ocean from the jacuzzi in the room. It was beautiful. And this kind of a trip is something that me and my wife take almost every year. And it's very luxurious, it's very fun, and a lot of people think it's very expensive, but there's actually a secret. It's all free. We've been to Nuevo Vallarta, Puerto Vallarta, Cancun, Playa del Carmen now, Lake Tahoe, San Francisco, Austin, all for free, just by using this thing I like to call simple travel hacking. Now, simple travel hacking may feel like an oxymoron, because usually when people think of travel hacking, they think of really complicated situations. You got to sign up for this card, and you got to get these points. You got to have those miles. You got to fly on this airline on these specific dates or stay at this hotel. There's blackout dates, and you never can make it all fit together. And if you can, it's super convoluted and complicated. And some of that is true. Travel hacking can be as complicated as you want it to be. But I subscribe to the Perot principle, or the 80-20 rule as it's more commonly known, that just states that 80% of the results come from 20% of the inputs, or 20% of the work. So what's that 20%? I always try and focus on what's that 20% that I can put in and reap 80% of the benefits. And so with this method that I'm about to lay out for you, the reason I call it simple travel hacking is because it doesn't get as convoluted as it could. Trust me, there are ways you can make it really, really complicated. But this is the simple way to get free vacations for the littlest amount of effort possible. So before we get into the specifics of travel hacking, we need to go over the rules of travel hacking. And these rules are non-negotiable, so if you can't abide by these rules, travel hacking is not for you. Now, you have to know yourself and know whether you can abide by these rules or not, but there's a reason that credit card companies offer all these signups. It's because they know most people that sign up won't abide by the rules I'm about to lay out, and they're going to end up making more money off you than you are in free rewards off of them. All right, so rule number 1, always pay your credit cards off in full, on time, every month. If you do this already, then travel hacking is right for you, and we can get into some of the specifics on that. But if not, if you're carrying any kind of consumer debt, credit card debt, you're going to save way more money by just paying down that debt, paying it off, getting to the point where you're paying off your credit card every month, on time, in full. Because the fees that you're getting charged, the money you'll save by doing that, is going to far outweigh any travel points or miles that you could get from travel hacking. All right, rule number 2, know the minimum spend for the card that you're trying to travel hack, and make sure that you spend that amount of money in your normal everyday life. If you're going to have to go out and spend money you normally wouldn't have spent in order to get the sign-up bonus that these credit cards require, it would be more advantageous for you to just not spend that extra money. Now, if you're close, there's a couple tricks that we'll talk about later that can push you over as far as getting to that spending limit. But as a general rule of thumb, if you spend significantly less than what you're going to have to spend to get the rewards, you might as well just not get the card and save the money yourself. All right, the third rule of travel hacking is to have good credit. Again, this is one of those things where not only is it required usually for some of the best cards to have good credit to even qualify for them, but more money is going to be put in your pocket long term by having a good credit score than by points you may get from signing up from certain credit cards. So always pay off your credit cards on time and in full. That's going to save you a lot of money, but also make sure you have good credit, because that's going to get you the best interest rates and a lot of other things that are going to save you money over your lifetime. That's going to be way more than a couple points here or there. And rule number 4 is to stay organized. Organization is key for you to take advantage of the credit card companies and travel for free instead of them taking advantage of you. Now, real quick, we need to define what travel hacking is. A lot of people think it's that 1% to 2% cash back they get from their credit card companies when they spend money on their credit cards. And that's not what we're talking about here. That's great, and a lot of people use that, but what we're talking about is specifically targeting sign-up bonuses where you can make 10 to 40% on money you were already going to spend anyways, and then use that to travel. So there are a lot of different companies out there, both airlines and hotels, that have different rewards programs. They got their miles, they got their points, and their different conversion rates. But really the gold standard of points are Chase Ultimate Rewards points. The reason that Chase Ultimate Rewards points are the gold standard is because they're so versatile. You can transfer them to over 11 different transfer partners, but also you can reward them straight for cash or for different gift cards or for travel, which is what we're going to get to here in a minute. But they're so versatile, and as long as they're sitting in your Chase Ultimate Rewards account, they never go away, they never expire. So you have way less rules to play with than some of these specific entities. The other thing I like about Chase is how easy it is to redeem your points. If you go onto their Ultimate Rewards site, once you have a login with your credit card, you can go onto their site, and it's like Expedia. You can book hotels, you can book airlines, all together in one transaction, and then you just pay for it with points. So there's no blackout dates, there's no pigeonholing you into this airline or this specific hotel. It's just like money. So it can be used to pay for Hilton just as easy as it can for Marriott or for an all-inclusive Dreams in Mexico. It's all the same. And so that way you're not worried about, I can only fly Southwest, or I can only fly American, or I can only stay at a Hilton. You can use it for any of them. And that's what makes it simple. All right, so now to the specifics. I'm going to outline 4 different cards for you, and it really kind of depends on your preference, your taste, and kind of your lifestyle. So the number one kind of best all-around card that Chase offers is called the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. Now this card does have an annual fee. It's $95, but you'll see how we're going to reap more rewards than that annual fee by doing this travel hacking. And I'll lay out a no-fee card for you as well as some higher fee cards to give you kind of a well-rounded look at the different Chase options. So the Chase Sapphire Preferred, like I said, it has a $95 annual fee, but it has a 60,000 point bonus when you sign up and spend $4,000 in the first 3 months. What does that mean? Each point is basically a penny. So 60,000 points you can think of as $600. So if you were to redeem them straight for cash, these 60,000 points would redeem into your account for $600. So as long as you normally would spend $4,000 in 3 months on credit cards, you can sign up for this credit card, put all those charges onto this credit card. In the first 3 months, spend the $4,000 required, and they're going to give you 60,000 points, which the very next day you could redeem for $600 cash. You've just made $600 from spending exactly what you were already going to spend. But wait, there's more. The Chase Sapphire Preferred, if you use the points on travel, you get 1.25 times the value. That's a very complicated way of just saying, basically, if you use that cash instead of taking the $600 cash out, you could spend it through their portal on $750 worth of travel. So you go into their portal, you book a trip, whatever it costs you, you can pay $750 of it with points. Now, the second card I'm going to tell you about is the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Now, it's kind of a sister card to the Chase Sapphire Preferred because you cannot get both of them. So you can either get the Chase Sapphire Preferred or the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And I'm going to outline some of the advantages to the Reserve as well as the disadvantages. So the Chase Sapphire Reserve is the more exquisite card, if you will. It's the fancier of the two. It has a much higher fee. The annual fee on the Chase Sapphire Reserve is $550, which sounds like a lot. But let me explain some of the key benefits you're going to get with this $550 fee. The first is a $300 travel credit, meaning the first $300 that you spend on this card on travel just gets wiped off your bill, which brings the fee down to really $250 a year. And you get that $300 travel credit every single year. So effectively, it's a $250 annual fee. On top of that, you know how the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you got to use your points as a 1.25 times when spending on travel? Well, with the Reserve, it goes up to 1.5 times. And as you'll see in the examples I'll give later, that can be a big difference, especially if you have a lot of points. So the main advantage of this is you get that extra 0.25 increase on your points when you spend it on travel, and the fee is really only $155 more. There's some other benefits like Priority Pass, which gets you into all the lounges at all the airports, if that's something that's important to you, as well as you can get free TSA PreCheck, $100 credit. It costs $100 to get that, but you can get it for free as a benefit of having this card. So if those are things that you take advantage of, it starts making that $250 annual fee look smaller and smaller. Now with the Reserve, they've lowered the sign-up bonus to now it's only 50,000 points when you spend $4,000 in the first 3 months. So very similar to the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you get 10,000 less points, but you get that additional 0.25 conversion when you use it on travel. Moving on to the next card, if $4,000 seems like a lot to spend in 3 months for you to meet your spending requirements, you may look at the Chase Freedom Flex. Now, it does not have an annual fee at all, so it's completely free to get and to use. And the sign-up bonus works like this. You spend $500 in the first 3 months, and they'll give you $200 or 20,000 points of Chase Ultimate Rewards points. So again, $500 you're already going to spend, and you make $200. Kind of a no-brainer. It's a 40% return on money you were already going to spend. Now, the Freedom Flex by itself doesn't have any advantage to using for travel, so that $200 would only really translate to $200 of travel. However, if you have one of the other cards that we talked about, the Chase Sapphire Reserve or the Preferred, you can transfer your points from the Freedom Flex to that card and then redeem them for 1.25 times. So you're always going to want to transfer your points to your highest redeeming card. So that would be the Chase Sapphire Reserve if you have that, or the Preferred next if you have that one. Now, people think that transferring is really complicated, but when you're all in the Chase universe, it's very easy. You log onto your account, you click on Ultimate Rewards, you click Transfer Points, you type in how many you want to transfer from what card to what card, and you click Enter. It takes like 2 seconds and your points are transferred. Very, very simple. All right, and then the last card I'm going to tell you about is the Chase Inc. Business Preferred card. Now, this is a business card, so you need to have a business or side hustle or at least have a DBA of a business that you're doing. But if you do, you can qualify for this card. This card has a $95 annual fee, so it's the same as the Chase Sapphire Preferred. And since it's going to be in your business name, you can have the Preferred and also this card at the same time. Now, this one has a 100,000 point sign-up bonus. That is basically $1,000 cash you can redeem. And it also, like the Chase Sapphire Preferred, has a 1.25 times multiplier when you use the points on travel. So it's effectively $1,250 if you spend it on travel. Now, this is a hefty spend requirement, though. You have to spend $15,000 in the first 3 months. If you own a business, that may seem like a lot, or it may not seem like a lot. But again, going back to my rules, you need to know that you can spend that money and meet the requirements. Otherwise, you're going to waste your time by getting this card because you're not going to get that big sign-up bonus. All right, so now I've kind of talked about the 4 main cards that I would start with if I were beginning again. That's the Chase Sapphire Preferred and Reserve, the Chase Freedom Flex, and the Chase Inc. Business Preferred. So now we're going to talk through some different scenarios of how you could sign up with these and get the points and how it would equate to you traveling for free. But first, just a couple quick strategy points. If you're really close to the spend limits for some of these cards, but you don't know if you could get there, there's a couple strategies that are financially sound to get you there. One is you can prepay an expense with them. So there's a lot of things that you could buy ahead of time that maybe you won't need for a little bit, but you would buy them down the line anyway. Go ahead and buy some of these to get to that spending limit. I know some people, they'll wait to give their charitable giving to the end of the year every year. So if that's something you do, you could wait to the end of the year, put all your charitable giving on a card, sign up for it right then, put it all on the card, and meet that spending requirement. I've done that before. Also, anything you normally shop at, like say you normally shop at Walmart or Target pretty regularly, you can go buy a gift card there at the store for a certain amount of money and use your credit card to buy it, and then later use the gift card to pay for groceries or whatever you normally buy at those stores in the future, but just basically spending that money up front to hit those spending requirements. So those are just some tips and tricks. Again, going back to the rules, if you're going to spend money you wouldn't have normally spent, don't do it. But if you're just really close and you're going to spend that money in the future and you can prepay some of those expenses, it's a way to push you over the top to hit those spending requirements. All right, so now on to the strategy. This is how I would go about doing it. First, I'd sign up for the Chase Sapphire Preferred card or the Chase Sapphire Reserve. If you don't want that big hefty annual fee, go with the Preferred and you'll be fine. All right, you're going to sign up for it, you're going to make the minimum spend, and you're going to get 60,000 points. As soon as you hit that minimum spend and it triggers your points, then you have your spouse sign up for the same card. Don't both apply together. Apply separately so you can get 2 different cards, 2 different sign-up bonuses. Do the minimum spend on that card. Now you've gotten another 60,000 points. You now have a total of 120,000 points or $1,200 of free money so far. Then I would have you sign up for the Chase Freedom Flex. You would do the $500 minimum spend that triggers the $200 or 20,000 points to be credited to your account. Then you have your spouse do the same thing. So that is a total of 12 months if it took you the full 3 months to meet all those spending requirements. So that's 12 months, and now you've accumulated 160,000 points. Now, because you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred, instead of it being worth $1,600 to travel, you get the 1.25 times bonus, so that's $2,000 of free travel. Not too bad for signing up for just 4 credit cards over the course of a year. And that doesn't even count all the points you're going to get from your spending on it month to month. So you're going to have more than that by the time that comes around. Now you can go on to Chase, go to their little web search, like Expedia, but it's through the Chase portal, find you an all-inclusive, and you can go take a vacation, all for free without spending any money of your own. Now, if you have a business, obviously we can add on to this scenario, but that's kind of the scenario for everybody. But if you have a business, you can do this at the same time. Sign up for the business card, spend the 15 grand on it. That gets you that extra 100,000 points. And if you put that 100,000 points with your 160,000 points, that gives you 260,000 points. So we're talking about a lot of free travel money here. That 260,000 points would now be worth $3,250 when you spend it on travel. And again, if your spouse has a side hustle as well, you can alternate those cards one at a time to get an additional $1,000. The other thing is this is where you could see how the Chase Sapphire Reserve might be of use. Going back to my original example where you had 160,000 points, you did the 2 Chase Sapphire Preferred signups and the 2 Freedom Flexes. If you traded out one of those preferreds for the reserve, now granted you'd be 10,000 points less, but let's just say they're the same for this, so the math's easy. Instead of it being all your points, the 160,000 points being worth $2,000 of free money, it would be worth $2,400 of free money. So you would get an extra $400 boost for that conversion rate of the reserve, which more than justifies the extra $150 that it costs an annual fee. So now you can see where having that extra conversion of the reserve can help make that travel dollar go even further. So I hope that made sense. I really love traveling, and I think everybody should travel as much as they can, especially if you don't have to pay for it. So use these strategies and tips that I have given you here to go sign up for these cards and travel for free. The other way to help travel for free is to get free money, and you can do that by signing up for Webull in the link down below. You deposit $100, they're going to be giving you 2 free stocks worth between $8 and $1,600. You can sell them immediately and use whatever they give you for your next trip. Also, if you're interested in any of these cards I've mentioned, there's referral links down below. You can click on those, and it's going to take you to the page to apply for those. Again, remember my rules. I want to really stress that because I don't want anybody to get in trouble with credit card debt because of this. But use it to your advantage, take advantage of the credit card companies, and make some money. Until next time.